When investigators found traces of Britta B's blood on a multi-tool and in the trunk of her husband's car, they knew they were dealing with more than just a missing person case. But how do you prove murder without a body? On February 16th, 2014, 37-year-old Britta B vanished from her luxurious villa in Wambach, Germany. 4 days later, on February 20th, her husband Emmanuel B reported her missing, claiming she had gone for a walk and never returned. What followed was a complex investigation that would expose the dark underbelly of a seemingly perfect marriage and challenge the limits of forensic science. Emmanuel B, a successful French businessman who had made his fortune in email marketing, presented the image of a distraught husband. He told police that Britta suffered from panic attacks and Crohn's disease, suggesting she might have become disoriented during her walk. But as investigators dug deeper, cracks began to appear in his story. Commissioner Stefan Lang, the lead investigator, was immediately suspicious. The circumstances described to us aroused my suspicion that we certainly weren't dealing with a normal case of a missing adult, he later stated. His intuition would prove correct as the case unfolded. The first breakthrough came from an unlikely source, the couple's home security system. Although Emmanuel had attempted to erase the footage, forensic experts managed to recover over 1.1 million images from the system's hard drives. Among these, they found footage of Britta entering the house on the evening of February 16, the last time she was seen alive. The cameras revealed unusual activity in the utility room at the back of the house until 5 a.m. on the night Britta disappeared, contradicting Emmanuel's story of a normal evening. This discovery shifted the focus of the investigation to the house itself. Despite Emmanuel's claims that Britta had gone for a walk, there was no evidence of her leaving the property after that night. It meant to me that something must have happened to her in the house, Lang concluded, and that she must have been removed from the house in a very, very hidden way. As investigators combed through the couple's financial records, they uncovered more suspicious activity. On February 17th, the day after Britta's disappearance, Emmanuel had transferred a large sum of money from her personal account to his own. He then withdrew the remaining balance, just over 1,000 euros, which he later used to pay for a prostitute in Paris. The investigation took another turn when police examined Emmanuel's internet search history. They found searches for terms like chokehold, neck attack, but also divorce and asset division. These searches, combined with the financial transactions, painted a picture of a man potentially planning both a crime and its cover-up. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source, a multi-tool purchased by Emmanuel on February 17th, the day after Britta's disappearance. When forensic experts examined the tool, they found traces of Britta's blood in hard-to-clean crevices. Dr. Harold Schneider, a molecular biologist who analyzed the evidence, stated, "The distribution of traces on this tool suggests it was used in an action where a lot of blood flowed, where tissue was possibly present, and it must have been blood and tissue from the victim." This discovery led investigators to a chilling hypothesis. Emmanuel had not only killed Britta, but had also dismembered her body to dispose of it more easily. This theory was supported by other items Emmanuel had purchased along with the multi-tool: 2 fireproof zinc buckets and a special cleaning agent called cement veil remover. To test their theory about the cleaning agent, investigators conducted an experiment. They applied blood to tiles and attempted to clean it using various methods. While normal cleaning products left traces detectable by luminol, the cement veil remover completely eliminated all traces of blood. This experiment provided crucial support for the prosecution's case, demonstrating how Emmanuel could have cleaned the crime scene so thoroughly. Despite the mounting evidence, the case against Emmanuel was entirely circumstantial. There was no body, no crime scene, and no eyewitnesses to the murder. Emmanuel maintained his innocence throughout, and his defense team worked hard to cast doubt on the prosecution's case. Initially, Emmanuel seemed to have a solid alibi. He was on a business trip to Paris when Britta supposedly sent her last email on February 18th. However, investigators later discovered that Emmanuel had manipulated this email himself, using Britta's MacBook to create a false trail. The prosecution's first attempt to indict Emanuel was rejected by the court due to insufficient evidence. This led to his release from pretrial detention after 6 months, a development that shocked both the investigators and Britta's family. Upon his release, Emanuel made a move that raised further suspicions. He sold the villa, along with all of Britta's personal belongings, and signed a 10-year lease on an expensive apartment in Brussels. The trial finally began in June 2015, more than a year after Britta's disappearance. Emanuel remained silent throughout, relying on his lawyers to present alternative explanations for the evidence against him. They brought forward a neighbor who claimed to have seen Britta after February 16th and presented expert testimony suggesting Emanuel's behavior was inconsistent with that of a murderer. Psychologist Hannah Ziegert, who evaluated Emanuel, stated, "The degree of grief over her loss, his traumatization in the face of her loss was considerable. I have rarely seen people who had killed someone like this before." This testimony added an element of doubt to the prosecution's case. For Britta's parents, the trial was an emotional ordeal. Their daughter had always presented her marriage as happy and harmonious, making it difficult for them to reconcile the loving son-in-law they thought they knew with the man accused of murdering their only child. The absence of a body or a grave made their grief all the more acute, leaving them without closure. Despite the challenges, the prosecution built a compelling case based on the available evidence. They argued that Emanuel had killed Britta, likely on the night of February 16th, and then meticulously cleaned the crime scene and disposed of her body. His subsequent actions, the financial transactions, the internet searches, the purchase of cleaning supplies, all pointed to his guilt. In the end, the court was convinced of Emanuel's guilt. While they couldn't prove murder due to the lack of evidence about the exact circumstances of Britta's death, they found him guilty of manslaughter. Emanuel B. was sentenced to 11 years in prison. The case of Britta B's disappearance remains a stark reminder of the challenges faced by investigators and prosecutors in cases without a body. It showcases the importance of forensic evidence, even in minute quantities, and the role of circumstantial evidence in building a case. Commissioner Lang, reflecting on the case, speculated about what might have happened that fateful night. What could be is that the missing and later killed woman possibly overheard that he had received a call or message on his cell phone, and that then led to an argument, he said. But this version actually contradicts his preparatory actions, his prepared information gathering over the internet about how to attack a person, especially in the neck area, in order to then kill the person. Forensic psychologist Katinka Kekes and criminal profiler Axel Peterman, who reviewed the case, provided additional insights. They noted that Emanuel's lack of remorse and highly manipulative behavior suggested he was likely silent in court for tactical reasons rather than out of genuine trauma. Peterman also pointed out that some perpetrators engage in guilt reversal, blaming their victims for provoking them into committing the crime. The true motive behind Britta's murder remains a mystery. Was it a crime of passion, sparked by a sudden argument? Or was it a carefully premeditated act, driven by financial considerations or the desire for a new life? Without Emanuel's confession, these questions may never be fully answered.